Hello, this is Judy, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the April 6, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I will do my best to pronounce all names and words correctly, yet please forgive me if I do not. And here's our first article, and it's under the GTA section. The title is Language Classes Cut, Reading Program Axed, and Bell Times Changed. The Massive Overhaul Shaking TCDSB Families. The measures affecting elementary schools this fall are part of an effort to reduce a $39 million deficit at the Toronto Catholic District School Board. And this article is written by Kristen Rushowy, and that's Rushowy, senior writer, and Isabel Tetonio, Teotonio, education reporter. For Liliana Cruz's family, the Toronto Catholic School Board's latest decisions, cutting international language classes, eliminating an intensive reading support program, and shifting bell times, amount to a triple blow. They're all terrible, says Cruz, whose child attends a school hit by all three changes announced last week. They not only impact parents, but also students, and language instructors will lose their jobs. The measures affecting elementary schools in September are part of an effort to reduce a $39 million deficit at the Toronto Catholic School District Board, one of the 8 boards now under provincial supervision to help get its finances in order. Supervisor Frank Benedetto, and that's Benedetto, said he will scrap international language classes taught during the day, which aren't ministry funded, impacting 77 instructors at 44 schools. He's also axing the unfunded 5th block reading support program for kids in grades 1 and 2 at 44 schools, replacing it with other literacy help. Plus, to save on busing costs, the bell times at 39 schools will shift either half an hour earlier or later. The cutbacks, which caught schools and families by surprise, has sparked backlash and generated petitions, and the local elementary teachers union warns that new bell times will impact both families and staff, and that losing 5th block will only hurt struggling students. The equivalent of 25 full-time teachers work with 5th block, and the board is expected to replace them with 10 early reading facilitators who are also trained teachers. If you look at the scale of it, it's 15 less people, and it's not guaranteeing the same amount of direct support to students, the Toronto Elementary Catholic Teachers Union told the Star, which is working on filing grievances given the lack of consultation on the decision. The number of students that one would be interacting with and the degree of intensity of the new program is different. From our perspective, it's cost savings they are looking at rather than a successful program continuing. They're not putting the needs of students first. While the board said 5th block is being replaced with a program that is current and reflects recommendations in a groundbreaking provincial report on reading, the Catholic Teachers Union said it has constantly evolved over the last 20 years with practices that are supported by research. I understand there are budget considerations, but from a parent perspective, supports that help kids read early are really important. We just want to make sure those supports aren't lost, said Mom Anita Goncalves, Goncalves, who created a petition to save the program, given the confidence in reading it gave her own 3 children. For many families, it's been helpful. Every child learns differently, and having that extra support can make a big difference, especially in the early years, she said. Parents are worried that some of the students may fall behind without that extra reading support, especially those who benefit from a bit more time and attention. A board spokesperson said it is modernizing its early literacy approach to better align with evidence-based recommendations in the Right to Read report, authored by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. It plans to boost the number of early reading facilitators who travel between schools, providing support to teachers as well as small groups of students. In a letter to the board shared with the Star, kindergarten teacher and parent Sarah Mezzabotta, and that's Mezzabotta, described Fifth Block as a crucial early intervention program and worries that her own students' right to read has been impacted with its elimination. She questions replacing it with evidence-based approaches when, in her view, the program is already based on evidence. This program has delivered proven results for generations of students. It is evidence-based. My own son benefited immensely from it, she wrote. It is difficult not to see this as a purely budget-driven move rather than a thoughtful educational strategy. Fifth Block and the Daytime International Languages program have come under threat before, given they are not ministry funded and, in the case of languages, run at a loss. This year, the board spent $6.2 million on the International Languages program and $3 million on Fifth Block. Cruz, whose daughter attends St. Jane Francis Catholic School, describes the changes as massive. Not only does the 7-year-old enjoy learning numbers, colors, and songs in Spanish, but her reading has improved a lot since participating in Fifth Block, an intensive 16-week program where students get an hour a day of small group reading help with a specialist teacher. Plus, changing bell times means Cruz will need to make adjustments with her employer. Thankfully, my work is flexible, but I know a lot of parents' work is not, she said. Some families may need to access childcare before or after school, which may be costly and difficult to secure, she added. Ashley Pittios, and that's Piotto, his 9-year-old daughter was so upset about the cancellation of Italian classes at St. Norman Catholic School that she and her friends penned Dear Government letters urging the supervisor to reconsider. Beyond language instruction, it has provided many enriching experiences, said Piotto, with Italian musicians and artists visiting the school and students taking trips to a senior's home to foster community ties. However, some parents agreed that the 4 half-hour language classes each week need to be removed from the school day so kids can focus on curriculum. But for some families, Saturday classes aren't accessible because of work, caregiving responsibilities, or financial limitations. Piotto's daughter won't be able to attend because she's already involved in extracurricular activities. In a move that raised some eyebrows, the board is allowing 3 Eastern Rite schools in Untobuco, St. Demetrius, St. Josaphat, and Joseph Cardinal Slipyj, and that's Slipyj, to bypass the cuts and have priests run religion classes in Ukrainian, while other schools must axe the language classes altogether. It is absolutely disrespectful to the remaining schools that are not being exempt, said Piotto. At the legislature, Education Minister Paul Calandra, Calandra, said the board had a unique language program that no other board in the province of Ontario had, but we will continue to support those programs on weekends, and that the literacy changes are more in line with the program that is offered across 71 other boards in the province. Kristen Riscovi is a Toronto-based senior writer covering education for The Star, and Isabella Titino is a Toronto-based reporter covering education for The Star. Our next article is under GTA, and the title is Toronto Woman to Walk 300 Kilometers, Visit All 100 Toronto Libraries in Memory of Mother. Stefak's mother, Eunice, died of cancer on April 7, 2025, at the age of 87. Stefak, and that's Stepak, described her as her favorite person in the world. And this article is written by Femi Duwadu Dawodo, who's a staff reporter. A Toronto woman is stepping up for her late mother and libraries by attempting to walk to all 100 of them in the city. Starting Tuesday, Marcy Stefak will embark on what she calls a thank you tribute to her mother, a devoted Toronto Public Library card holder for more than 5 decades who died last year. Stefak's mother, Eunice, died of cancer on April 7, 2025, at the age of 87, just a day short of her 88th birthday. Stefak described her as her favorite person in the world, a single mother who raised 3 children, worked full-time, and instilled a deep love of books. Stefak, a writer and former college professor who works as a content strategist for Heart and Stroke, remembers her mother as a woman of silent wisdom. My mom was more of a listener than a talker, Stefak said, more of a reader than a writer. She was the wisest person any of us has ever known. Libraries were a shared sanctuary for the family. Going to the library was never a chore. It was always fun, Stefak recalled. I think part of the reason she'd bring me so often was so she could sneak off to the parking lot and have time to herself. But she earned it. Her mother's love for the library was evident until her final days. She urged me to donate her books to the library so others can enjoy them, Stefak said. Stefak will start the 300-kilometer walk titled Every Library TO at the Taylor Memorial Branch in the Birchcliff neighborhood and end at the Toronto Reference Library. She's expected to cover an average of 30 kilometers daily for 10 days from April 7th to April 16th, visiting an average of 8 to 12 branches a day, with some days requiring both morning and afternoon routes to hit her targets. Every morning, her partner will drop her off at a different branch to begin the day's trek. For well-wishers looking to join her, Stefak has released a route map detailing her daily itinerary. Stefak, 55, has spent months preparing, working with a physiotherapist to strengthen the muscles and joints she'll rely on for the 8-hour walking days. It wasn't about losing weight or speed, just building up the parts that will keep me going. She also took part in a 180-kilometer hike in Tobermory last summer. Stefak's walk will help raise funds for the Toronto Public Library Foundation, with an emphasis on supporting programs for older adults, initiatives her mother benefited from, especially during the pandemic. There's a new initiative to tackle loneliness among seniors to help with community and connection, she explains. My mom used the book delivery service when she couldn't get to the library anymore. They drop off 15 or 20 books at her house every month. Stefak has purchased a large waterproof decal to attach to her black backpack with the words Every Library TO to help well-wishers identify her during the trek. Along the way, Stefak will carry a library passport to be stamped at every branch. She will also bring a few photos of her mom, the ones on my fridge that make me smile, she said. She intends to carry a stack of old-fashioned library cards for anyone who joins her on the walk to sign and share their own library memories. I want to remember every single moment of this. I needed somewhere for my grief to go, Stefak said. While Stefak is walking solo, she won't be alone. Despite living outside of Toronto, her brother and his wife intend to follow her progress every day via FaceTime, describing them as her biggest cheerleaders. Closer to home, she will receive support from her 2 sons and their partners, while her partner and their dog Tess will make occasional appearances along the route. And Femi Dawodo is a staff reporter for The Star. You can reach him at his email, which is fdawodu@THESTAR.ca. Our next article is under GTA, and it is titled, Doug Ford Promised HART, H-A-R-T, hubs would help the drug crisis. A year later, here's what they've accomplished in Toronto. Wait times for residential treatment are long, demand for housing outstrips supply, and some clients stop coming after consumption sites closed. And this article is written by Omar Mosleh, Mosleh, staff reporter. Cindy Reddick, Reddick, knows the siren song of heroin all too well. Now 12 years into recovery, it's usually a faint hum in the background, easy to ignore. But the music never really goes away. Certain sights, certain sounds can turn up the frequency. It's why she avoids supervised consumption sites. Being around substance use can trigger her. At the South Riverdale Heart Hub at Greenwood and Danforth Avenues, there's a vibrant mural on the wall that she uses to ground herself. There she writes words in soft pastels that remind her of how far she's come. Happy, strong, divine, loved. I'm not used to feeling feelings, but I'm getting comfortable with being happy, Reddick said. And when I write it down, it becomes more real. 1 year ago, the province shut down 9 consumption sites across Ontario and opened heart hubs. Premier Doug Ford argued that the Homeless and Addiction Recovery Treatment, HART hubs, would connect vulnerable Ontarians with healthcare and provide pathways to housing and long-term treatment while skewing harm reduction services. A year later, Toronto's 4 heart hubs are still nascent. Workers say new funding has expanded capacity for healthcare, mental health, and addictions counseling, but big challenges remain. Despite the Heart Hub mandate to get people into housing, the 4 hubs have only secured 88 supportive housing units so far, and in most cases, clients have yet to actually move in. Hub directors say there are still considerable obstacles. Wait times for residential treatment are long, the demand for housing outstrips the supply, and some clients have stopped coming after consumption sites close, raising concerns about people using dangerous drugs in isolation. A lot of vulnerable people at risk. The role the Heart Hubs will play in supporting vulnerable people in Ontario has taken on renewed urgency, with the Ford government announcing last month that it's defunding all remaining consumption sites in the province. The Star spoke to representatives at all 4 Heart Hubs who agree on one thing: consumption sites are needed to work alongside treatment services, as a low barrier approach was crucial in building relationships with clients to guide them through their recovery. No matter how welcoming we make our Heart Hub services, we are simply not offering the service that many clients want or need, and that is supervised consumption, said Angela Robertson, Executive Director of the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Center, which operates 1 Heart Hub and lost 2 consumption sites. The transition to a model focused on treatment and recovery only has left a lot of vulnerable people at risk. Toronto Centre Councillor Chris Moyes, chair of Toronto's Board of Health, said the Ford government's decision to bulldoze ahead and shut down supervised consumption sites was poorly planned. He said the city still hasn't received their full provincial funding for the Downtown Heart Hub, which continues to operate from an interim satellite location. To just close those doors and not have that way forward, I think it's dangerous and irresponsible, he said. On Monday, Moyes requested that the province continuing funding 2 sites in Toronto that are facing closure, or alternatively maintain provincial funding so the agencies can preserve connections with clients and continue to deliver primary care, food programming, housing referrals, and more. Last month, Health Minister Sylvia Jones told reporters the government has no intention of reversing its decision to defund the sites. In a statement, Ministry of Health spokesperson Ema Popovic, and it's Popovic, said all 28 Heart Hubs are now open and have delivered over 100,000 client interactions and provided hundreds of people with supportive housing and addiction recovery beds. Instead of giving people tools to use harmful illegal drugs, our government is helping people break the tragic cycle of drug addiction by making record investments in more mental health and wraparound support, she said. Capacity remains a challenge. In Parkdale Queen West, Robertson said their hub is helping clients with employment support, healthcare, and case management for housing and treatment. But it has also created barriers as most services require registration compared to the anonymous and drop-in model of the consumption sites. As a result, they're seeing fewer individuals accessing the Heart Hub compared to their consumption sites. For many individuals facing stigma and past trauma, the flexibility and anonymity we offered were essential to initiate and encourage engagement with broader services, Robertson said. It was the easiest front door for many clients to walk through. At the Regent Park Community Health Center, Nicola Holness, Holness, Director of Integrated Mental Health, said the hub funding has increased their capacity for wraparound services, with a psychotherapist and more caseworkers helping clients plot a plan to get back on their feet. Holness added there's a greater emphasis on recovery, with staff members being trained in how to have gentle conversations about quitting drugs without being judgmental. Holness acknowledged not everyone is willing or ready to enter treatment, and capacity remains a challenge. Even though it might require a 3-month wait list, hopefully they are continuing to access programming, access case management, maybe see a psychotherapist, she said. Those are services we can try to use as a bridge until treatment becomes available. Where are we going to go? For Reddick, the client at the South Riverdale Hub, the health center is a place where she finds peer support and obtains food when bills are tight. Most meaningful was connecting with a counselor who helped her unpack childhood trauma. While growing up in Regent Park, she was bullied and called racial slurs. At 18, she started working as a dancer at the strip club Fillmore's. The life came with fast cash, but she was also surrounded by drugs and experienced sexual violence. Heroin became her escape. Reddick is thriving today, recently celebrating moving into a new condo, but she recognizes the path to recovery is not linear. I suffer from the disease of addiction, she said, but that doesn't mean I can't move forward and live the life I want to live. It's something Corey Keller, a consumption site user, says he wants, but these days he's more worried about dying. Keller represents a very different client than Reddick. For Keller, a day without using substances is potentially dangerous, as he could go into withdrawal, and using alone is even riskier. Walking into the Moss Park consumption site, which is set to close in June, he points out 3 staff members who have saved his life. I don't like to shoot up unless I'm here. The stuff they're putting in the dope nowadays is deadly, and once heroin has you, you're hooked, he said. It takes a long time to get off of it. He wants to go into treatment, but said the wait list makes it difficult. The consumption site is a lifeline, but it's also his relationships with staff that keeps him coming back. I got my IDs here, my health care is here, the nurse here has helped me out quite a bit with some injuries, he said. Once they're gone, where are we going to go? Omar Moshli is a Toronto-based reporter covering social issues for The Star. You can reach him at his email, which is omarmosleh @ THESTAR.CA. Our next article is under Canada, and the title is A Bowl of Earth for Breakfast in the Sky. Jeremy Hansen discusses his view and the journey ahead aboard Artemis II. For the second time, Hansen joined the Canadian Space Agency from orbit to answer questions early Sunday morning. And this article is written by Gabrielle Hilty, Hilty, staff reporter, and Alexa McKee, MACKIE, staff reporter. While traveling among the stars, Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen described his morning view as a bowl of Earth just sitting there for breakfast in the sky. The view from NASA's mission nearing the far side of the moon is quite different from what we see gazing at the sky from the ground. You can see a crescent Earth, Hansen said in French while answering questions during a second live video call from space. The view is similar to how we see the moon in a crescent shape at certain times of the month. It's amazing to see. Floating in the Orion spacecraft around 300,000 kilometers from Earth, Hansen was joined by fellow astronauts Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch to answer questions submitted by Canadian youth and the broader public around 12:30 a.m. on Sunday. After Hansen's English and French responses, Prime Minister Mark Carney posted on X Sunday afternoon to say that Hansen became the first astronaut in history to speak French while en route to the moon. It's just really great to spend some time with my fellow Canadians from way out here, Hansen said, holding a floating microphone. Hansen is the first Canadian ever to leave low Earth orbit. The Artemis II is the first crewed mission to the moon since the Apollo 17 mission in 1972. Hansen and his fellow space travelers aren't attempting to land on the moon, but will instead slingshot around the far side of it before returning to Earth after their 10-day voyage. How's the view up from above? The crew also sees stars differently. We have so much illumination from the sun, the moon, and the Earth right now, Wiseman said, with a view of a black space and no stars, similar to not seeing stars in the blue sky during the daytime. Sunday night, the astronauts could see the stars when they turned off the lights as the mission was pointed towards deep space for the first time, Wiseman explained. We'll take a picture, Hansen promised. From maple syrup in space to CPR. We had a little bit of Canada on board today, Hansen said, holding up a pouch of maple syrups the astronauts had with their lunch. Asked by students from Nunavut, and that's Nunavut, about their diet in space, the astronauts went through a space food menu, which included a rehydrated shrimp cocktail dinner for Hansen, a bag of green beans, and some mac and cheese. In space, you really just eat all of your food out of bags, fellow astronaut Koch explained. The food is dried up when it's brought up to space before the crew rehydrates their meals with water to eat. What happens in case of an emergency needing CPR in zero gravity? Cardiac resuscitation, or CPR, can also be done in space, Hansen said. One of our tests this week was actually to try those techniques out, he explained, getting into a live demonstration with fellow astronaut Wiseman. What I need to do is support myself and have him, Wiseman, against something, Hansen said, floating into place before practicing some chest compressions. The journey ahead. Late Saturday night, the crew passed the 2/3 mark on their journey to the moon, according to NASA. Their spacecraft, which the crew has dubbed Integrity, is set to start its trip around the moon on Monday. As to what the astronauts are looking forward to seeing the most, the Oriental Basin, sometimes called the Grand Canyon of the Moon, Koch said. It has all kinds of multi-layer crater rims, a lot of different land formations, and it has a mare, a kind of lava field, she explained. A few hours before the video call, the crew was the first humans ever to see the entire basin. Answering a question from a student in Quebec towards the end of the video call from space, Hansen said the future of space exploration depends on young people. It will be necessary for the next generation to contribute to our future, Hansen said in French. You can do things that are important to humanity. Gabriel Hilty is a staff reporter with the Toronto Star. You can reach him at his email, which is GHILTY@THESTAR.ca. Alexa McKee is a staff reporter with the Star. You can reach her at her email, which is AMACKIE@THESTAR.ca. THESTAR.ca. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our next article is under Federal Politics, and the title is Federal Privacy Law Changes Would Expand Sharing of Personal Data Across the Government. The Liberal government proposes making it easier for federal agencies to share and reuse the personal data of Canadians through a major overhaul of the Privacy Act. And this article is written by Jim Bronskill, Bronskill, of the Canadian Press. The Liberal government proposes making it easier for federal agencies to share and reuse the personal data of Canadians through a major overhaul of the Privacy Act. The Act governs how federal agencies collect, use, and disclose personal information and gives people the right to see and correct data about them in the government holds. The law has not changed substantially since it took effect in 1983. In a policy paper issued Thursday, the government says that in most cases, reusing personal data or sharing it with another program for an alternative purpose requires a person's consent or must meet one of the few legal exceptions. These rules were designed to protect privacy, but they make it harder to deliver modern, connected services that rely on secure data sharing, the paper said. The goal is to make it easier for programs to share data responsibly, so Canadians only have to provide information once. The government proposes allowing federal agencies to reuse and share personal data with each other and with their provincial, territorial, or municipal partners without consent if it improves services or programs. This would be allowed only when the data is limited to what is clearly required. The reuse and sharing are done in the least invasive way possible, and strong safeguards are in place, the policy paper says. Although consent would not be required, individuals would still be informed of such uses, the paper adds. This would be done through stronger transparency requirements, including clear, easy-to-understand privacy notices that are published in a central registry before the data is shared or reused. The government also suggests bolstering protection by recognizing privacy as a fundamental right and requiring what's known as a privacy impact assessment when a federal program uses personal data to make a decision about someone. It also proposes enshrining in law the obligation to notify people of a breach at a federal department or agency that involves personal data. Another proposal recognizes that the government is increasingly adopting technologies such as artificial intelligence and automated decision systems to improve service delivery. While these technologies can improve efficiency and consistency, they raise concerns about transparency and trust, the paper says. Individuals may find it hard to understand how AI or ADS work and what personal data these systems use to make or support decisions. There is no federal legislation in Canada that fills this gap. The government proposes amending the Privacy Act to require institutions, upon request, to explain how an automated decision system supported a decision and what personal data was used. The measure would help people check to see if the data used by the system is accurate and ask for corrections if needed, the paper says. People could also ask for a human review of a decision if they believe the ADS made a mistake or used incorrect or incomplete personal data, the paper says. The government notes that Canadians currently rely on two separate laws to request information from the federal government: the Access to Information Act for general records and the Privacy Act for their personal information. This dual system for access requests can be confusing and inefficient, the paper said. Individuals seeking access to their own information often do not know which law applies and may end up navigating two separate processes, which can lead to delays, incomplete responses, and multiple requests. The government proposes removing the personal data request process from the Privacy Act and incorporating it into the Access Law to create a more harmonized regime for requests. The government says Indigenous peoples have distinct perspectives and priorities when it comes to data, including the personal data of the members of their community. A modernized Privacy Act would aim to support self-determination, meaning Indigenous peoples could make decisions about their own data in ways that reflect their values and priorities, the paper says. This may include shared stewardship with the Government of Canada, ensuring Indigenous authority while working together to manage and protect data, it reads. Ottawa says comments and feedback on the policy approaches will be collected through an online submission form until July 10th. It also promises consultation meetings with federal institutions and subject matter experts over the coming months, with a report on the overall findings to be published in the winter of 2026 and 2027. This report by the Canadian Press was first published April 2nd, 2026. Our next article is under sports, and it's under Tempo. The WNBA expansion draft gives the Toronto Tempo an identity. 2 selections stand out. The Tempo came away from Friday's expansion draft with a guard-heavy headline by a couple of picks who seemed to fit expectations perfectly. Free agent Marina Mabrey, Mabrey, from the Connecticut Sun was selected by the Toronto Tempo in Friday's WNBA expansion draft and is lined for a core player designation. And this article is written by Doug Smith, who is a sports reporter. The Tempo are not easing into this process of constructing an expansion team roster. By their words, the front office is not interested in any leisurely stroll to eventually bring success to the WNBA expansion team. And by their actions, they are chasing established talent that fits an entertaining, forward-thinking style that can win right away. The Tempo came away from Friday's expansion draft with a guard-heavy group headlined by a couple of top picks who seemed to perfectly fit the expectations of Coach Sandy Brondello, Brondello, a collection of talent that appears perfectly in tune with the pace and space style of today's game. Sandy Brondello is a champion and someone that we knew needed players that align with that mindset. Tempo General Manager Monica Wright-Rogers said after Toronto made 11 picks over the 2-round draft that marked their first tangible step towards putting a team together for the May 8th regular season opener. All it takes is a quick look at Toronto's first and third selections to find out what kind of talent they want to amass. Right after expansion cousin Portland took Chatham native and former Minnesota Lynx forward Bridget Carleton at number 1, the Tempo selected Julie Allemand, Allemand, of the Los Angeles Sparks, a 5'8", 29-year-old guard from Belgium. The GM said it was an obvious fit. The biggest thing about her was just her ability to control the tempo and be a facilitator and a floor general, Wright-Rogers said. With a head coach like Sandy Brondello, I think there was no doubt that if a player like that was available to us, that was a fit. Watching her over the years, watching her in international play, I just feel there's a great deal of trust with your offense and defense with your team when she's out on the floor. And with their third choice, 6 overall, the Tempo took unrestricted free agent guard Marina Mabrey, who played for the Connecticut Sun. The 29-year-old American is in line for a core player designation under the WNBA's new collective agreement and around a 7-figure salary. I think that was really important, making sure our team had space the way Sandy Brondello wants to play. 5 out in a very modern system, Temple assistant GM Eli Horowitz said. So having Julie and Marina, who are playmakers, and making sure they're shooting around them was a big part of that decision. Friday's expansion draft began an accelerated process that was delayed by about 3 months during protracted negotiations on a league contract that even now has yet to be officially signed. But even though the process was rushed, the Temple feel their organized experience allowed them to make the right picks. Obviously, Monica's time in this league, Sandy Brambello, and myself being in the league, we felt very confident that we know the global player pool of talent, not just in the WNBA, but college and international, Horwitz said. So we tried to keep that top of mind as we waited and had confidence that whatever that day came, we would be ready to go. Friday's pick should dovetail well with the next step, free agency, and there are more than 110 players without contracts. Begin April 9th, followed by the April 13th entry draft. Toronto has the 6th, 22nd, 26th, and 36th selections. We really viewed this not in isolation, Horwitz said, adding that trades are also an option. The WNBA roster limit is 12, plus 2 developmental players. Wright Rogers feels Mabry is a key Korg. I do think that it was important to us to land an unrestricted free agent that was core contract worthy and not just any UFA, said the GM said. In our discussions and our deliberations, I do think that we did land at a spot that gave us an opportunity to be competitive with someone that will help us attract other free agents as soon as we hit free agency. Wright Rogers said she has already spoken to all of the players selected on their agents. Everyone is super excited about this opportunity. Their excitement just made our day, Wright Rogers said. It was amazing to see how the players that don't know anything about Toronto are excited to come here and experience what we know to be a very special city. And Doug Smith is a sports reporter based in Toronto. Our next article is under World, and it's first titled United States, and the title is How a Blind Man Made It Possible for Others with Low Vision to Build Lego Sets. And this is in Newton, Massachusetts. Like a lot of young children, Matthew Schifrin, and that's Schifrin, loved building Lego sets. But because he was blind, Schifrin had to rely on friends and family to help him complete his creations, sometimes bribing them with tea to get them to come by his house. And this article is written by Michael Casey of the Associated Press. So, like a lot of young children, Matthew Schifrin loved building Lego sets. Because he was blind, Schifrin had to rely on friends and family to help him complete his creations, sometimes bribing them with tea to get them to come by his house. That all changed when he was 13. A family friend and babysitter came over to his house in Newton, Massachusetts, and handed him a binder filled with accessible instructions for building a Middle Eastern palace. The instructions, written in Braille, allowed him to complete the set without having to rely on the brightly colored pictures that typically come with Lego sets. This was the first time that I was able to build a Lego set on my own, Schifrin said at his home, surrounded by sets he has built, including a Statue of Liberty figurine and NASA's Apollo Saturn V rocket. It was truly an amazing experience because I was completely in control of the whole building process. I knew where the pieces went, and I was able to learn about the world around me. Inspired to reach more blind Lego builders, after Schifrin's babysitter died, he wanted to honor her memory. So he set about fine-tuning the instructions the two had posted online to reach other blind builders. 3 years ago, Schifrin launched Bricks for the Blind. The 28-year-old now works with a team of 30 sighted writers and blind testers. His website makes the downloadable instructions available for free to anyone who's blind or visually impaired. They can either print the step-by-step instructions in Braille, use Braille computers, or turn to screen readers, which are software applications that convert the text into speech. The instructions allow a blind person to build on their own, but Schifrin's website also says a sighted person might be needed to sort Lego bricks. Otherwise, the blind builder could turn to one of several apps that identify bricks using artificial intelligence. So far, the nonprofit has created instructions for more than 540 Lego sets, ranging from a 100-piece car to a 4,000-piece bridge. About 3,000 builders have used their instructions across the United States and as far away as Australia. Schifrin also approached the Denmark-based Lego Group in 2017 about making their products more accessible, which inspired the company to create audio and braille instructions for a growing number of Lego sets. That launched in 2019. Separately, the company also introduced Lego Braille bricks in 2020, which are available in French, English, and Spanish, and feature studs on the bricks that correspond to letters, numbers, and symbols. It has also introduced several characters in their sets with vision loss. Blind parents, children, and their families find connection. Schifrin, who is also an actor, composer, and opera singer, said he has gotten messages from many people who couldn't build Lego until now. He's heard from grandparents who are blind and say they're now able to build with their grandkids. We couldn't build with our kids. They didn't want our help, but now we can teach our grandkids about Lego, Schifrin said. Or blind parents who say, my kids are sighted, they don't want my help, but it's amazing to really understand what all this hype about Lego is, because now I can build on my own. Daniel Mullen, Millan, who lost his sight in 2024, turned to bricks for the blind after a tumor crushed his optic nerves. The 31-year-old master's student from San Diego, who's studying to be an assisted technology instructor, first completed a Lego ornament set. Then on his anniversary, he completed a Lego rose set with his wife. Being able to do it independently, it's freedom, he said, adding that his sudden vision loss left him wondering about what he wouldn't be able to do again. After building Lego sets, he soon learned that it's not about what I can't do anymore, it's more about what I can do, he said. Building with their children. For Natalie Charbonneau, and that's Charbonneau, who is blind, the instructions have allowed her to complete sets without relying on her sighted husband. It's also allowed her to have fun with her 5-year-old son and build many fire trucks and other vehicles. If he has questions, I have the ability to check his work or to follow along instead of saying, you have to wait for your dad or you have to ask your dad. It's something that I can now do with him as well, which is empowering, she said. Charbonneau, a tester for bricks for the blind, is a doctoral student who lives in Bellingham, Washington. Terry Turgeon, Turgeon, the educational director for the program at Perkins School for the Blind in Watertown, Massachusetts, where Schifrin went as a baby, said the accessible instructions allow blind children to experience the same pleasure as their sighted peers. It also helps them visualize a wider world and develop fine motor skills and tactics. He's created a space around innovation and accessibility that was otherwise not there prior, and he's done so with a toy that many children play every day, she said. In the founder's Lego room, back at his house, Schifrin helped fellow blind builder Man Ha, H.A., to build a go-kart. He grabbed Lego bricks and elements from 2 bowls and began to first put together a driver figurine. It's just legs, torso, head, helmet. You've built this before. It's a piece of cake. I believe in you, Schifrin told her. Awesome, she said with a smile. All right, I'm going to put the helmet on the head, and then put the legs on the body. She reflected on a journey that began 2 years ago when she built a lotus flower. A lot of blind people have been left out of this culture and kind of childhood phenomena of being able to build Lego, play with Lego, Ha said. There's something incredibly satisfying and also relaxing to be able to put together these very intricate, very beautiful, and architecturally complex build. And this article was written by the Associated Press. Our next article is under business, and this is an opinion article. The title is 6 Overlooked Money Habits That Work Wonders for Your Wealth. And this article is written by Leslie Ann Scorgie, Scorgie, who is a contributing columnist. And Leslie Ann is a Toronto-based personal finance columnist and a freelance contributing columnist for The Star. In a world of endless financial advice, it's easy to believe that building financial security requires something complicated, novel, or cutting edge. It doesn't. Some of the most effective financial habits are the simplest and often the most overlooked. These are the behaviors that quietly build momentum, helping everyday people create real, lasting financial progress. Here are 6 habits, and yes, an espresso machine might be in your future, so you can avoid buying $7 lattes. Habit number 1, know your numbers. According to a survey by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, many Canadians don't actively track their net worth or fully understand their financial position, making it harder to build financial security intentionally. This is a quick fix. Take an inventory of what you own, these are assets, and what you owe, these are liabilities like loans. When you subtract your debts from your assets, you arrive at your net worth. This is your starting point and not a judgment. It's a number that begins to tell your financial story, and the goal is to see your net worth grow every month. Even small improvements in your net worth matter and are an indication that your debts are shrinking and your assets are growing in value. To do this effectively, you want to establish a budget that prioritizes paying off consumer debt as quickly as possible while putting money towards your future, typically through RRSPs and TFSAs. If there's more money going out the door than coming in, you'll need to cut back spending or find a way to make more, or both. Habit number 2, adopt a winning mindset. Your financial life is shaped as much by your mindset as your math. If you believe you're bad with money, you're likely to act accordingly. If you believe you can improve or that you deserve the opportunity to learn more, you need to learn how to manage money better, you will. Financial security isn't reserved for a select few. It's built by those who believe that they can change their financial trajectory and take consistent action. These folks, even if they don't earn big bucks, have learned skills to help them keep as much of their money as possible, and they prioritize teaching their children how to do the same. Start replacing negative self-talk with a growth mindset that centers on, I can do this and I am capable of learning this. Then take action. Habit number 3, buy better. Higher quality items last longer and almost always have a lower cost per use than poor quality products that break or can't meet your needs. Getting what you need on sale, sometimes in bulk, requires research and price comparison, but saves huge money. It might surprise you to learn that recurring bills and sometimes interest rates can also be negotiated. To succeed in getting a lower price or a better rate, you'll want to have done your homework. Be prepared to share a competitive offer and converse politely, but firmly state that you require savings or you're leaving. Block off between 30 to 60 minutes per vendor you want to negotiate with. Habit 4, focus on just 1 or 2 goals. What we know about money goals is that it's tricky to be successful at achieving them if you got more than 2 or 3. Keep them simple and realistic. You'll measure your progress through your net worth improvements every month and hopefully see more money in your budget. Typical goals would include 1 focus on saving and investing and another on paying down debt. Something like saving an extra $100 per week into an emergency fund and putting an additional $300 towards debt each month once you've consolidated balances to a lower rate. I also think it's healthy to have a fun goal, saving up towards a new bike so you can enjoy getting around the city this summer on the bike pass, for example. Give your goals time. Momentum builds when you stay consistent. Habit number 5, track your spending for at least 30 days. When you track where your money goes for 1 month, all debit, cash, credit card, and gift card and transactions, this is where the awareness and the aha moments happen. You'll quickly see whether your spending aligns with your priorities. If it doesn't, you'll know exactly where to make changes because you'll see where leaks are happening. If the spending tracking upsets you, it might be a clue that your spending isn't aligning with your priorities, offering a further motivation for change. Habit 6, build daily money habits. I call them rituals. These small daily actions create powerful results over time. They can look like a conscious choice to make a good cup of coffee at home versus buying one, or connecting with your spouse on money matters. I also love the ritual of saving a little each day, even a few dollars transferred into a high interest savings account. This builds both your bank balance and your discipline. Then, practice daily financial gratitude. As you measure your net worth and monitor your budgeting, you can celebrate your wins and focus more on what you have versus what you lack. So you have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 6, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star. Your reader has been Judy, that's me, and it has been an honor and a pleasure to read for you. I hope you take wonderful care of your amazing selves and have an amazing day. Thank you so very much.